Thank you, Sheila. Now I invite Linda to come and share her testimony.
Good evening. 11 months ago, just one day after our 88-year-old father was moved into a long-term care home in the Saskatoon Health Region, I, as patient advocate, received a blanket email from nursing to all families of the residents there. The residents and families were invited to a public education presentation on MAiD in the dining room of the facility, as some patients had expressed interest in the topic. Now, this is wrong on so many levels. My siblings and I were expecting palliative care until natural death in a long-term care facility that provided palliative care. We did not want an unasked for education on MAiD. We wondered why not a single filter had been applied. If they had bothered to check, his 2019 health directive showed that he wanted a natural death. And in 2022, he failed a cognitive test. But no one asked before sending that email. We were so perturbed by this unwelcome invitation that we did not want him to remain at the facility we had just transferred him to. We worried, we obsessed, we resented the emotional turmoil that this intrusion brought into our already tumultuous lives, and we became defensive for our loved one. Each one of us was deeply concerned. Had someone approached our father with this invitation? It was hard not to overreact to that email. And my siblings and I did not want to make a rash decision, but we took this very personally. I still cannot find the words to express the level of disappointment and the distrust that we each had and still have in the SHA, health professionals who actively promote MAiD when they should be focused on providing palliative care to our vulnerable aging population and their distressed families. We knew we were in the final weeks or months of our father's life, and we were prepared to accompany him until it was his time to go. He was not afraid of the human experience of suffering, of goodbyes, of dying, and neither were we. As family and friends care for a loved one that is preparing to loose their mortal coil, those of us who are chosen as companions will anoint them with tenderness, with love, with our tears. Our family experienced moments of deep sorrow, moments of stillness, of clarity, and a closeness to our dad that could only be compared to that of a mother and her newborn. Holy moments and sacred ground. So a good life, every life is like a good book, and we wanted one more chapter, one more page, one more word, but we knew we were coming to the final page, written by the author of all life. We did not turn away from the inevitable sorrow and the loss. Dad had 7 weeks in that facility. His fragile body was failing as end-stage multiple myeloma took its toll. But his spirit never faltered. His faith never faltered. When he was too ill to attend a prayer service, he prayed along from his bed. He shared his love of music, and you could often hear polka tunes from his CD player as we walked toward his room for a visit. There was one fellow who cried out and bellowed during meals, and it disturbed everyone's peace. Dad wasn't there for too many days when he wheeled over and gently touched the man on the forearm, saying, "Do you mind if I sit with you?" The fellow was surprised and agreeable, and then Dad began to chat with him, gently asking simple yes or no questions. If the fellow was bellowing from his room 3 doors down, Dad would wheel over and offer him a wrapped toffee, which took some concentration to open and a bit of time to chew, and all was quiet. And I believe then, and still do, that a blanket approach to MAiD in any palliative care facility is a failure in care that in no way respects the beauty of a life and the holiness of dying that everyone at the end of their life is entitled to. It is a breach of all the standards, protocols, and so-called safeguards in the legislation. Euthanasia is tragically and unfairly dismissive of the value that each person brings just by being them. The staff told us that they fell in love with our father within a day and a half of his arrival. He glowed with love. It radiated from him. He lived with compassion. He embraced his circumstances, as did we, and those 7 weeks were full of life. He gave us a high bar to live up to and an example of living that none of us could ever have imagined not being there to share. Thank you.